r/AskReddit. Max says, what is the worst thing your parent or parents ever did to you? Jeff 37923 says, I was 21, in the Navy, and my ship was out to sea on maneuvers. While out to sea, my girlfriend was killed in a traffic accident. My mom decided not to contact the Red Cross Navy affiliate to let me know because she believed I was doing important work and shouldn't be disturbed. Which was bullshit, because we were only gone for a month training reservists. So I missed her funeral and didn't even know that she was dead for 2 weeks after, since mom only told me when we pulled back into port. That was over 30 years ago. Both my parents have passed away, and I'm getting angry just by typing this. Decent Armadillo 2395 says, I'm so sorry to read this. Stilebiscuit 13 says, truth be told, my parents aren't terrible people, but they did a lot of damage to me when I was young. They would make fun of me and belittle me constantly to the point that I was afraid I would fail at just about everything, often telling me I didn't have the drive or skill to do the things I wanted to do. They also heavily favored my brother over me to the point where even my brother's best friends would ask me, why do your parents love your brother so much more than you? One of my most painful memories as a kid was when a handyman, a Brazilian guy who would come over frequently to fix stuff that I always helped/worked with, looked at me with pure pity on his face and told me, I'm sorry that your parents can't see your value. It freaking destroyed me, and 25 years later it still does. Scare 991 says, well, seems like her parents are good _confection _3365 says, probably when my dad threw me against a wall and choked me on Mother's Day for going to see the Spider-Man movie with my sister. Or when my mom and her friend pinned my arms behind my back and talked about which one of them wanted to beat me more. Anru 13 says, how nice of your old man to defend his wench on her special day. Truly a match made in hell. Soap _sup says, they locked me in my room for a year. Only allowed to go out for school and bathroom. Had a really short hook lock placed at the top of the door frame, so you couldn't even slightly push the door open to get it lifted up with something and get out. I didn't have a phone during that year either, so after school it was complete isolation. Since I didn't have a phone and they wouldn't get me an alarm clock, they would wake me up in the morning by throwing ice water on me. They wouldn't tell me what time it was, and there were no clocks upstairs, and I wasn't allowed in the kitchen when the stove and microwave would have the time, so I just had to guess how much time I had to get ready before the bus came. When they woke me up was inconsistent, and sometimes they wowed sleep in and forget, so I would miss the bus and they'd make me walk to school, no matter the weather. They also took away all my clothes and only gave me one pair of pants, a shirt, a long sleeve, and a jacket, and one pair of Converse, so when it was January and like 10 degrees at 7 AM I'd have to walk to school with my backpack and art projects through the snow for about 2 to 3 hours. I wasn't allowed to use my locker at school because I might hide something from them, so I had to have all of my textbooks and notebooks and supplies for the entire day in my bag. That, and they had me on 80 milligrams of Vyvanse when I was 90 pounds for whatever reason, and took them away out of nowhere, and when I had withdrawal and crashed they threatened to send me to a mental hospital for my erratic behavior. There's a lot more, but this all tied to what it was like just being locked up for that year. Kardakasi88 says, Jesus Christ, your parents were assholes. Really sorry for you, hope your life is a million times better. Ringtone _Duchess says, assholes is the understatement of the century. They were child abusers who deserve jail time. Wizard Offnerd 7465 says, my mother poisoned me and my wife. Super _C complex says, there's only a little left. You can finish it. And now I can't not finish food that's available. It's a compulsion to eat everything even if not hungry. Tankard says, Reading these comments, my parents were nowhere near as bad as these others. I don't mean to rub it in for anyone, but my parents were great. The worst thing I can remember is me telling my mom my secrets, and I told her to keep it to herself, but she would turn around and tell all of her friends and laughed with them about it. I would tell her many times to stop, but she wouldn't. It took about 6 years from when I first found out for her to stop telling the secrets. Everest says, my dad beat us, beat my mum. Was generally just a horrible human being, racist, sexist, homophobic. You name something bad, he was it. Couldn't get out of that house faster. Graveyard_doggo says, a mild case myself, but they would gaslight me when I was in physical pain or was having physical issues unless I had irrefutable proof. They didn't take me to the doctors when I had bronchitis for over 3 months. They only took me to the hospital once when it wasn't for school mandated booster shots and only because I asked. I also had to physically show them my incredibly swollen tonsils for them to say yes. They denied me when I told them I had insomnia, insisting I just wasn't trying hard enough to sleep. And the icing on the cake, I once stepped on something that made my foot sting like a bizacch. I suspected it could have been a scorpion, since it was the desert, but all I saw was dirt. Couldn't confirm. Run into the house sobbing, but since I couldn't identify what I stepped on, plus it was likely inflamed at the time, they said. r/AskReddit. Angelic_Sidactress9 says, if you could have one question answered about the future, what would you want to know? Farnkister Best says, lottery numbers for sure. Priap22 says, do I get married? Jacitha Drake says, I'd like to ask if I have experienced the worst day of my life yet or not, but I'm too scared. The answer would be no, and I would be fearful. But to genuinely know that you have overcome the worst would be uplifting. Conehead1313 says, what will be the date of my death? I like to plan things. OK Mention 4545 says, why is Gamora? Britha Free says, when will Winds of Winter come out? Shatterbrained_ says, life after death. It just isn't for _ANH says, when will GTA 6 come out? Moro Disco says, what stock will 20x in the next 10 years, or cut out the effort and just have the lotto numbers? News General says, what will society evolve into? Femuald says, what's the most significant event that will shape humanity in the next decade? Possible Cupcake 1418 says, why does humanity go extinct? Or when do we meet aliens? Johnston 015 says, what investment will give the greatest return over the next 20 years? Guggy 71 says, when will atmospheric CO2 ppm begin to decrease? Bedstain Sayag says, what will Jess Armstrong make next after the successes of Peep Show and Succession? Ytrian says, what is the password from all of my accounts ever made? Prior Eagle 2056 says, date of my death. Ordinary_Widget says, how do we fix things? Business_Regret says, will our kids be thriving in a better world than the one we grew up in? Meme_Lord_253 says, will I ever find the cure to death? Opening Tax 8374 says, do I find my happiness? Fifadex says, do I finish my project? From a Book says, how long will I live? Not much more ya need to know than that. Trixity says, are they gonna release autism medicine? Zid_0 says, when do I die? How hard am I allowed to live before I die? Random Bloke 2021 says, When will we discover and confirm other life exists? Average_ugly_woman says, if my dreams will come true. Bard13 says, what happens on March 24th, 2037? Elephant35e says, when will WW3 be? Styx Rafal says, will the Moroccan bots get obliterated in r/place? Vadanova says, do we ever get to use personal space travel vehicles like in Elite Dangerous? Random_username_96 says, will we manage to keep climate projections below 2 degrees, and would that happen within my lifetime? I don't feel hopeless or scared, particularly. Not right now. But I also don't feel very hopeful. I have no idea what my life, what the world, will look like when I'm 40, 50, 60. Deplialapli says, when will the war or wars stop? Elimason Cheats says, when I will die, so I can spend every waking moment living life to the fullest. Farmis Awesome says, do we ever sort out this global warming thing, or do big companies just keep going until Earth is completely ruined? Kitchener 1981 says, will I live to see Halley's Comet? William says, how can I make my wife and daughter happiest? Bobleham Mossapine says, at what age I'm going to die, so I can plan my own funeral. Status_ad_50 to 59 says, I'm Russian, so I want to know if I need to move to another country that I want to move right now, or I can stay in Russia. BC we will have much better government, but without that shit, I'd like to know how long my fave band will give concerts. I hope they'll be on stage 5 more years and I'll get on at least one of them. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.